Hey everybody, it's Ken McElroy here. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Justin Donald. So we met at a personal development seminar. Actually, oddly enough, not that long ago. But our friends, like we have all these mutual friends that we discovered. It's interesting because we were just sitting next to each other. We started talking, and he's an entrepreneur. He's been in Tiger 21. He's had lots of businesses. He has a master course, he and a master class and a book, and he's very, very entrepreneurial. Justin, it's great to have you on the channel.
Thanks, Ken. I'm so glad to be here. I'm excited to hang and just to get a chance to connect once again. So every time we talk, I feel like there's so much fun things that we get into, and it's just very stimulating. So thank you.
It's funny, like I know, like you obviously we exchange numbers, and you're like, hey, I'm talking at so and so, or I'm listening to so and so, and he mentioned you, and I know, like it's just interesting, birds of a feather do flock together, right?
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. And what's really also neat is you now have years of reputational equity that are out there. So it's really fun where, back in the day, I read your book when it first came out, and it's so interesting to see the shifts that can have, the impact that made early on for me, and to circle back and say, hey, I now know this guy. I know the guy that wrote this book, and we get a chance to hang out. It's a pretty neat thing.
Well, I think what was cool was we were in Dallas, and when we met, and I came up and we were chatting, and like it didn't connect for you at first, right? That you had
That's
read
right.
my
That's
book,
right.
and you're like, whoa, what? Wait a second, right? And all of a sudden, the lines, the dots started to connect.
Oh, I kept saying to myself, Ken McElroy, this name's so familiar. I know I've heard people talk about him. Like, I know your name. I know that I should know exactly who you are, right? But the dots just didn't connect on the book and some of the other projects that you've done and some of the friends that I have that have invested with you. So it's really fun to connect those dots and just the vast number of people that we share as mutual friends. It's just
I
really
know.
cool.
Well, I know. Thank you for giving us your book, The Lifestyle Investor. Danille and I were thumbing through that the other day. I have it at my house, and I haven't gotten through the whole thing yet. But, why don't you walk us through your journey? Danille's on, which is awesome. And I know
Hello.
she's got a ton of questions. And as you know, she's an entrepreneur and a real estate investor. Let's talk about, your journey, because I giggled when I read. I didn't actually know that you did Cutco, which is, I think every young man and every young woman should go through Cutco, and because it's, knocking on doors and selling hardware is hard.
Yeah, there's something to be said about early on in life developing the soft skills that go along with a job like Cutco, where not only do you need to learn sales skills, but you need to learn how to interact with people and how to handle objections and rejection, and to develop the skills to talk to someone over the phone. There's just so many layers, and to be able to ask for referrals. So to me, it's just such a great training ground for, whatever it is that you might end up doing. And it really served me well. And a lot of my friends have gone off to do some pretty incredible stuff. And it obviously served them well also.
So why did you decide to start up in Cutco? Like what happened that came your way?
Well, at that time, so it's interesting. I started a job that before that was much tougher. So when I was in seventh grade, my mom said, I'm done being the bank at Donald. You got to go get a job if you want money. You've got an allowance, and if you want more than that, then you got to go get a job. So I did, and I didn't realize that at first my job was to literally sell newspaper subscriptions door to door, 100% commission. And I was horrible at it. I mean, I was just so bad. And I took rejection very personally. I felt like people didn't like me. It took me a long time to figure out how to get sales in the first place. And then eventually I figured it out, and I figured out how to use a script and how to, interact with people and handle objections and stop taking it personally. And that foundation for me was really good to have prior to going into Cutco, because having a product that has a forever guarantee that people are going to use anyway, at least the target market of who I saw, they cooked, it became a much easier sale. Not that it's easy necessarily, but it was much easier. And at that time, I basically saw an opportunity to be able to earn more. So I was 100% commission in the job with selling newspaper subscriptions. And I eventually moved up and built my own crew and took people around and made a commission off of everything that they sold. So, when I was a senior in high school, I literally was driving around to different neighborhoods and dropping people off to truly sell door to door. But when I saw, the base pay with Cutco, I was like, oh, this is better than what I'm making potentially. And there's some commissions. I should probably try this out. So more than anything, I started it because I just wanted to earn more. I just wanted to know if there's something better out there than what I was doing. I had been doing the newspaper and coupon book thing since 7th grade. So, it's been a long time, 6 years, and I was ready for something new.
Nice.
That's funny, Justin. I don't know if you know, but I did the exact same thing. So I was doing the S&H green stamps or something, and the coupon books, all that stuff, and the newspaper thing. I did that. I was doing the subscriptions, and I also did the best part for me was I delivered them too, but then I was the collections. So I was like, here I was at 12, and I was learning like real life. Like these are real adults. Like they don't want to pay like $4.50, for the newspaper when I was a kid, and some gladly paid and gave tips, and some hid behind, because they didn't have the money, and it was really interesting life lessons. And I have a couple really, really good friends that went through the Mormon missionary program too. And I was talking to one the other day. He's like, Kenny, if you could sell religion, you could sell anything. He goes, I got more no's. I got more doors slammed in my face. And so I think the point is, it's interesting. I didn't know this background, but these are life skills, wouldn't you agree, that kind of set you up for kind of the next piece?
Yeah, most certainly. Because if you can get to the point where rejection has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them, then you just build this thick skin, and it's and you learn like the law of numbers, and just that it's a numbers game. The more opportunities you have for sale, the more sales you're going to get. Like once you can get to the point that it goes beyond an emotional experience, and it's just all X's and O's. It's purely just there's math involved. If you take more shots, you're going to make more shots, and that's it. So like just having that foundational ideology, principle, like that has been huge, let alone all the other things that I learned along the way.
Yeah, I know in talking to Kiyosaki, I know you met him in Dallas. We were together. He said two things. One, he went to Xerox. So Robert is pretty shy. A lot of people don't know. I know his videos. You would never know that, or him being on stage, but he's actually pretty shy. And he said he went to Xerox to literally learn how to sell. And he said, he goes, I could if I see a guy without a girlfriend, then I know he can't sell. Right? It's kind of it's kind of true if you think about it.
Yep. That's awesome. And by the way, what great awareness that he said, I need sales skills. Like, let me go somewhere to learn how to do it. I think most people don't even have the awareness that they need those skills, that those are one of the greatest skill sets that you can, amass in your, soft skill arsenal. That's
very, very true. So let's jump right in here, because I know you've done quite a bit. It was very fun to sit and chat with you. And, I know that right now you've invested heavily in real estate. You own a large portfolio, multifamily. You own some Orange Theory fitnesses, franchises, which I'm dying to hear about, and how you got into that. And also a bunch of several other operating businesses, and some that you've sold, some that you've started. So you're kind of a serial entrepreneur, and you have multiple side hustles going. So I'd like you to just talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, it might make sense to start kind of where I began with this whole idea of recognizing that I was working for money, even though I thought I was a business owner when I was with Cutco. Really what was happening is I was earning income based on my time. And that if I wasn't working, it would dramatically impact the income that I was making. And you could build some systems, but only so much, only in a certain degree, because it was such a hands-on intensive type of business. And so when I first started getting into real estate, I started buying mobile home parks, and my friends all thought I was crazy. They're like, "What? You're doing what?" But it just made sense. I saw the numbers, I saw the cap rates that I could buy it at, I saw the cash flow, and I just knew that I could get low enough interest rate to at least have a 3-point spread, which would be a 20% cash on cash return. And if I could do that all day, every day, I was going to make some great money. And what ended up happening is, like, my first deal was like a 36% cash on cash return. My second deal was a 54%. My third deal was a 105% cash on cash return in year one. And it just created so much cash flow that I was able to step away from what I was doing with Cutco. At first, my wife stepped away from her job. She was a teacher, and the very first park we bought covered her income. And then I bought another one that covered what it cost us to live, just bare minimum, not lifestyle, just enough to survive: mortgage payments, car payments, utilities, groceries. And then I bought that third park, and that covered our entire lifestyle. It was more than our lifestyle. We had enough money coming in that we didn't have to change a thing. And if we wanted to get a little more extravagant, we could have. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to grow the passive. So I started taking that surplus of income, and I just started investing in other deals. I might invest in more mobile home parks. I invested in other real estate. And so, I mean, at this point, I don't know that there's an asset class in real estate that I haven't invested in. I've pretty diversified in that front. Most of what I do is I buy and hold, but I've flipped some stuff and I've added to my portfolio, but my main holdings are still predominantly mobile home park, industrial distribution centers, self-storage, and single family homes. And then as the cash flow just continued, I felt like I needed to diversify even more. And so that's when I started getting into other vehicles like senior secured debt and just these highly collateralized positions where if someone defaulted, I did even better than these wonderful terms that I was already getting. And then I started seeing the opportunity with businesses, and I started a business with some friends that literally took off overnight. We ended up becoming, it's called IFM Restoration, and we ended up becoming an institutional vendor. I guess basically we would service the institutional portfolios of single family homes on the maintenance side of things for the who's who. And that really took off. And because of the growth and the scale there, I ended up doing some consulting with other people, other founders and entrepreneurs that wanted to scale their business. But what I always found myself doing was going back to talking about profit and what are you doing? Are you investing all your profit in? Are you just playing the stock market? You're just doing qualified plans. It's like most people are just putting all their eggs in one basket, which is primarily their own business. And if not their own business, the excess goes into the stock market, generally via a qualified plan. And that was it. And I just saw people not being able to get ahead and wanted to teach people a different way to do it, similar to what you do.
Yeah, I think, right. So one of the things I want to point out here is one of the things that we don't talk about a lot. I mean, I'm talking about Kiyosaki, I'm talking about Mark Victor Hansen, I'm talking about you or myself even, or even Danille, is, a lot of times people know us for something like a book or multifamily. Like a lot of people know me as multifamily, but like you, we have so much happening that I don't really even discuss. As you know, we have self-storage and we have office, and I'm doing the billboards, and I'm doing some single-family development, and I'm doing condo projects. I'm doing multifamily. We're doing land development. We're doing, on and on and on and on and on, including the publishing company and the internet company. So there's all these sources of revenue, and Danille's the same. So, when we sit around and talk, we're always looking for like we were just talking yesterday. I had somebody on my podcast that does mailboxes, and I'm like, man, that's something I never thought about. And so we had this really cool conversation yesterday morning over coffee and said, hey, let's look into this, and I think the people don't realize we're always looking for diversification. And I think that is very important because multifamily does go up and it goes down. Single family goes up and it goes down. And so things go up and down. And so what you want is diversification, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the more you can diversify, the better off your portfolio is. The more weathered it is. It can survive more seasons. And I would consider, COVID a specific season where a lot of businesses did not thrive in that season. But hopefully your portfolio is strong enough that you didn't only have businesses that struggled or investments that struggled during that time. So my goal has always been, how do I get into basically everything? Like I want access and to be diversified all across the board in anything and everything I can get into, because then I'll have income no matter what is going on with the economic season that we're in. And so that's where, small business, mom and pop business, I really like. You got a cash flow product and you can buy it based on a certain multiple. It's, they're not using technology, they're not advertising, whatever it might be. And you can ramp it up, which we've done a bunch of times, and then sell it, at a year and a day. So you get long-term capital gains, but you get the cash flow. So if anything happened in the interim, you still have cash flow. And I just think that that's so important to weather a tough economic season. The cash flow is everything. And so a lot of my investments and the foundation of my investments really started with that cash flow element, whether it was in real estate or whether it was in, a deal that I structured with a company or a company that I bought. I mean, I do a lot of unique terms and structures where I can get a royalty or a profits interest or some sort of, profit share. And I can get that with a regular, distribution. So maybe it's monthly or quarterly.
Yeah. So Danille, I know you like, so I don't know if you know Danille's background, but she started, having to make money, having to cover expenses. Then she sold a business, bought some real estate. Now that real estate covers her expenses. And so now she started another business. But hey, Danille, why don't you talk a little bit about how that kind of just took that pressure off? Because I think a lot of times people are just, they're transactional. They're trying to cover expenses to live, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have multiple streams of income, it does help, because things do go up and they go down. And, it's always good to have different sources of income, because if you can get enough income coming in from different sources, it's just like less stressful versus putting it all on one source of income.
But one of the things that you did is once you bought I guess your third rental, it's very similar to your story, Justin, where you guys had, that third one kind of, the first one was kind of the stabilizer, the second one kind of covered all your expenses, and now the third one is actually almost discretionary income. And so, but now you're in a position, Danille, to be able to kind of do what you want, right? I mean, you're really being strategic now with that excess passive income.
Yeah, definitely. Like I get to do, work for money that because I like it, basically.
Yeah. So Justin, in your book, and I know we've talked a lot about this 10 commandments of investing. So can you walk us through your philosophy around these 10 commandments?
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the things, and I love what Danille said, kind of about her story and where she got and kind of the pressure that was removed when she earned a certain type of income or a certain amount of income that kind of was over what she needed. And it's that. So like the whole concept of being a lifestyle investor, or my book title is The Lifestyle Investor. That's something that I kind of coined based on this idea that I didn't want to have to work for money. I didn't want time to equal money. I didn't want to be doing this trade where I'm spending, my most precious resource for a certain amount of money. Like, how do I buy my time back? And once I buy it back, how do I have this compelling vision of the future for all the things I want to do, what I want my life to be about, and where I want to spend my free time, and what type of experiences and adventures do I want? So I feel like most people kind of go through life on autopilot, just kind of reacting to life's set of problems or situations or things that come up, versus intentionally saying, hey, I want to do these things. I want to live this life. I want to travel these places. I want to have this type of income. And so my goal was to get really clear on what I wanted and have the income to allow me to do it, so that I was no longer a slave to money or a slave to the business that I had built, or a slave to security and safety and routine. And so that's it, because those are tough shackles to break when you are accustomed to this lifestyle. Or even with a business, I think most people, they start a business to create freedom and autonomy, and in doing so, they build like this bigger job, right? It's like they now work more than they worked before, but they can make more, so it's justifiable. But now it's like this trap. It's like you upgraded. You went from I don't know, like a treadmill that was just for one person, single family use, residential use, versus like the really nice commercial Peloton treadmill that, it's got way more bells and whistles. There's way more cool stuff you can do while you're on it. You can watch TV, you can take classes, you can do all these cool things, but you're still on a treadmill. And it's only a matter of time until you probably realize it and say, hey, I didn't think I was signing up for this. So the whole idea of the lifestyle investor was, how do you invest in a way that supports your lifestyle, that aligns with the values that you have for your life, and for how you want to spend it and with who you want to spend it with. And so my 10 commandments are really my 10 criteria for what I'm going to invest in. Why do I make the investments that I make? What is it that I'm looking for that's ultimately going to help me be lifestyle focused and not job focused or security focused?
Yeah, I love that. So if you guys are interested, obviously go find that book and you can get more and more details. But I think you hit on something really interesting to me, and we were actually just chatting about this the other day, Danille. People start a business, which is, by the way, not easy, and I commend everybody who tries it. But what they move to is what I call, they go from a business to a busyness. And it's very different, to your point. What can happen a lot of times is, you will work, you'll consume yourself into that thing so that it doesn't fail. And, can you talk a little bit about that little trap that happens? Because that next level of being able to delegate, trust, it's a big, big thing, right? To be able to scale.
Yeah. So there's no doubt that it's kind of like this. So when I first started a business, I was a true slave to that business because I was the only employee. I was the only person. So every function that happened ran through me. I did everything. And so I learned really fast that if I was going to grow it, if I wanted to have any quality of life, I needed to bring people on. So I think there's like a couple of different tiers where, number one, you can create an opportunity to have a good lifestyle via systems and protocols, standard operating procedures, human capital, where you have to, one, create the time and space to figure out what needs to happen, what can be like more of a routine in the business. And then number two, who are the people that can fill those roles? And then how do you delegate to them in a way that's going to support them, support a good education and a long-term retention where they're getting good results. The business gets good results, they get good results, they feel good about it, you feel good about it. And then I think the next level really is, how do you get your, the first one's like, how do you get your business to optimize? Ideally without you, right? With other supporting players and processes. And then how do you then get the rest of your portfolio to be optimized? So how do you get your business to perform at its highest level? How do you get your capital, your excess capital, to perform at its highest level? And I think those are two different things. But to me, it's just a trial and error. And one of the things that I've learned is that even though originally I felt like personality profiles, though interesting as they could be, were kind of maybe not as helpful as what some people would think. the more I dug into it, the more I was hiring, the more I was involved in scale, the more that became a lifeline to find the right people faster, and then to really have built out a protocol of how to train people and transition them in. And I've also found that the more that you micromanage, the less independence you're giving. And so the more people are reliant upon you versus the more you macro manage and give, and instead of like hiring people that you micromanage to do everything, you just hire sharp people that can figure out how to do it and can take action, so you don't have to micromanage, and therefore you get a lot more independent thinkers, independent action takers.
Right. It's a good point. So there's a couple of roadblocks that people have, I think, a lot of times. One is they believe that they have to be at a certain level of financial success, which you and I both know from prior experience that's not true. But also they have to have their own money. And I think what's interesting when I talk to a lot of folks, and by the way, this is how everyone starts. I believed this too. I believed, okay, how am I going to do this if I don't have the money? And it's really a mindset shift. So can you touch on those two things? Because I think those are two big barriers that people have. My parents, they didn't have a lot of means. I had to plow through these kind of mindset issues that I had as a kid that were stacked on top of me, just like anybody else. And of course, I didn't have my own money, and I figured it out. And once you get on the other side, it looks so obvious. But what did you do, and what do you teach to get people to punch through that?
Well, it's a total mindset shift. That's what it is. It's less about having money, less about knowing the system to do it. It's more about recognizing that what other people have done, you can do as well if you copy their system or emulate, the way that they are. There's just so much that you can do for rinse and repeat. And there are these playbooks that work. So why not take a playbook that is totally proven instead of trying to do your own thing? And so I think some of it is, the confidence to do it. And then some of it's a total mind shift that has to happen. When you don't have things, there's often this scarcity mindset that creeps in that says, well, you can't do that. You've never done this before. You've never had this success. You've never had the type of money or relationships to get these things done. And recognizing that when you get to a place where you can shift that and say, well, no, I haven't, but neither was that person when they started, or neither did they. They started just like me. And if I just do what they did, at least that's a framework for success. Maybe it isn't the fastest way to get there, but it's at least a proven path to get there. So why don't I start there instead of trying to do it myself?
And what about your friends? Like Danille and I were laughing about this. When we first met, I go, I don't know. A lot of your friends are nice people, but they're always telling you can't do stuff. And how are you going to do stuff? Because their mindset, and there's nothing wrong with it. They're good people working hard, and right, Danille, you remember all those? And what you started to do is you started to hang out with more entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I just needed to hang out with more entrepreneurs, because employees just didn't understand. So,
yeah, I think that there's so much just communication, education on like things to do and the how-tos, but I think one of the most underrated, discussed ideas is the power of your peer group, and the way that you think is really going to be shaped and impacted based on who you're spending time with. So it's not that you like kick these friends out of your group of friends, but it's figuring out who are the people that are going to be supportive of you and help you find a way versus the naysayers that are going to hold you back. And then who are the people that actually inspire you to think that way and that have done the thing that you want to do. So we're in a world where everyone's a coach. Everyone's a life coach, right? It doesn't take any certification or any degree. Everyone is a life coach. But the funny thing is most people who are coaching on their thing have never done the thing. So
I know.
you got to be so darn careful with who you're, enlisting and allowing to speak into your world. I only want people that have done the thing that I want to do or want to, or the things to be the ones influencing me in that thing. And I think that's important. So peer group, coaches, mentors, but just the people that have had the experience and have done it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Justin. I think that it's important to have friends that have done what you want to do, right? Or so you can learn from them. But I have a funny story about the life coach thing. I was at this networking group, and this lady's telling me how she got fired and how she doesn't know what she wants to, do with her life. And I'm like, oh, okay, so what's your business? She's like, well, I'm a life coach. I was like, oh, okay. So it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny. That's one of the. I don't want to pound away on the public school system, but I look at these well-meaning people teaching our kids, and I often wonder, what experience do they have, in some of these things that they're actually teaching? I mean, obviously basic arithmetic and stuff like that, that's easy. But I remember when you start to get into some of these more meaty subjects, they're literally just teaching from a book. They don't have any real life experience around, and things are moving fast. And I don't know about you, but once I got out of university, man, I tell you, I don't know that I really took much beyond some of the basic stuff, how to read, write, and write well, and communicate well, and all those kinds of things, which are very, very, very important. But then you start to get into these other pieces that we had to learn, and I don't know how much of that I actually got to apply after school. How about yourself?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I feel very blessed that I had a great education. I went to University of Illinois, and the school there, their business school, has always been one of the leaders because they bring in so many adjunct professors that have actually done the thing. So to me, it's so funny, like hearing people that are, getting their MBA, and it's like, well, the 5 keys to, market are this, all taught by someone who's never done it. And so I feel blessed that I actually had entrepreneurs that had done the thing. I had a real estate professional teach a real estate course who is one of the largest real estate owners in Champaign-Urbana. I had a wealth manager, or it was called wealth creation. And the guy who taught it was a guy that while in college bought an apartment complex that he lived in and fixed up, and that paid for his tuition. I learned a course on arbitrage strategy from a guy who literally played the markets, and he would split deals 50-50. Anytime you'd find a merger or acquisition and he liked the theory, he'd put in the money, but you found it, and he'd split the profits 50-50 with you. I had another class where we got to invest $1 million of actual money from one of our alumni. And every week we would present on what we wanted to buy, what we wanted to sell. And, at the end of the semester and at the end of the year, we wanted to be up, which we were, and we did a great job. So it's like, and that was, he was an investor. So I feel like once I got into my senior, senior year, I really got this great education. But my first 2 years, it was nothing like that.
Yeah. And so it continues too, by the way, right? I mean, I don't think people realize, like today, even with this small little thing that we're looking at, this post office, we're going to go find somebody that's actually done it. We're going to dig into the numbers. We're going to find out all the pros and cons, what went right, what went wrong. And I remember my son was wrestling in high school, and the wrestling coach left, and between years, and so they couldn't find a wrestling coach, and so they put this guy in, right? And I'm sitting there. I wrestled in college. I was going out of my mind, because here's my son who's about ready to be, he's a junior, so which is a kind of a deciding a year. And I'm sitting there, and finally I just created a whole system out of his high school so that so that he would continue to learn. But I don't think people realize how often somebody gets put into a position, and they're well-meaning. Don't get me wrong, they're well-meaning, but they don't always know. But the one thing they do have is an opinion, right? Like
That's right.
it drives me nuts.
That's right. And a lot of people get their position by appointment, not based on a resume, not based on an expertise. They are appointed to a position because they know someone that wanted them in that position. And that is pretty mind-boggling to me as well.
Yeah, and I think you guys need to be careful on who your teachers are. And this is a really important thing on the internet, on YouTube, in life, whatever it is that you're going to do. I'll tell you, one of the things I did when I started having kids is I was in YEO or EO now, and one of my I went to a personal development seminar, and there was a guy and his wife sitting there, and they were talking about family values, and he had 5 kids, and all 5 kids wanted to hang out with him all the time. So he was talking about how he had actually orchestrated this situation where all his kids, he would be with them all the time, and they were all in their early 20s at the time. And so I went up to him and I said, "Hey, I've got a new family. I don't know what to do." And he laughed and he said, "I'll help you." And so we met for 1 month, or we met every month for 10 years. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. Like if it's so apparent that you can see these kinds of things. You can see successful people. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about people that are successful in whatever they're successful in. And just go up and ask them, and they'll give you their time. Isn't that your experience, Justin?
Yeah, it is, because when you achieve a certain amount of success, you want to give back. You want to have legacy and impact and help others to create it. And it's interesting because when I was at a point where, I hadn't figured things out and I was still trying to figure out how to be quote unquote successful, and everyone's definition of that's a little different. So it's super vague, and I'm hesitant to even use that word, but I hadn't achieved what I wanted to achieve. And I just felt like people wouldn't want to spend time with me because they're too busy and they have stuff going on. But what I found out is that people were yearning for that like they actually wanted these outlets to be able to pour into. And for, I had a decade run where I took someone out to either coffee, lunch, or dinner at least once a week, for 10 years. And sometimes it was the same person. Generally, it was a new person, but I couldn't believe how many people would just spend time with me just because I asked. And plenty of people said no or didn't respond. But, again, it's a numbers game. You ask enough people, someone's going to say yes. And now being on the other side, I love helping people. I mean, the whole business that I have right now, which is totally a hobby turned business, is literally that. It's teaching people how to become financially free. And that is like one of the most empowering experiences in the world for me, to watch them have that experience, because I already had it and it felt really good in that moment, and then it disappeared. And it's like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
But
I know.
But you help other people, and it's like an ongoing thing, and it feels so good. It feels so great to them. It feels so good to you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that get put on the shelf when they retire with an incredible amount of knowledge. My friend started the Cold Stone Creamery here in Arizona, and it all started in Phoenix. And we were playing golf one day with a older gentleman who was awesome. You could tell the guy was just like full of wisdom. And with just a little bit of conversation, we found out that he was Ray Kroc's attorney. And
Wow.
and I can't remember how old he was at the time. He had to be close to 80. And all of a sudden, my friend Doug said, "Hey, I'd really, really like to have you on my board." And he said, "100%, right there." And and all of a sudden he became a board member for Cold Stone, and because again he's 80, he's close to 80. He's sitting on the shelf. He's got all this knowledge and wisdom of. He literally said when Ray Kroc came into his office, by the way, as the founder of McDonald's, he was very against having anybody even sit in the restaurants. You know what I mean? And all of this, and he kind of helped navigate and was kind of helped him get through a lot of those obstacles to all the way through franchising. And Doug was sitting there going, "Man, I obviously want this guy's knowledge and wisdom. And so he put him on his board and breathed new life into him as well, right? So it was a win-win. And I know one of the things that you talk about in your book is how to tell if a deal is win-win, right?
Yeah, that's so important because we live in a day and age where I think a lot of the world is set up to not be a win-win. It's very much a win-lose. You're likely at the end of the losing. If you're unsure who's winning, you're probably the loser in this, And you've got all this manipulation that happens in the financial industry. You've got all these middlemen and just there's so much kind of stacked against you. And I think it's important to figure out, like, how do we make it a win-win? Well, whatever terms you're sharing with me are for sure a win to you because you came up with them. You shared them with me. They could be a win for me, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily a win for me. But then the other assessment, it's like, okay, well, these people get paid for doing their job. If they're adding value to me, I feel so good about them getting paid. If they're not adding value, why would I want to cut them in? I should completely cut them out. And so this is like my whole section of cut out the fat. Figure out where the fat is. Who are the people that are making money? If a financial advisor is not making you a lot more than what you're making, if you were just in the indexes, then why are you using them? Because you're paying them a heck of a lot more to make you less, which, by the way, 95% of money managers make you less than the S&P 500 index. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But the list goes on and on of like all these professions that truly are middlemen that, in some cases they're adding value. And I feel so great about having people make money on transactions with me when they add value. But if they're not, I'm going to go right to the source.
Yeah. I know when we were together, we were talking about about and you open your book with the story about losing money, and I love that because I think a lot of times, especially with social media, I mean, I just chuckle at a lot of the stuff that you see that's not real reality. So I really appreciated when you started your book about losing money. Can you talk about the reason and the philosophy about that?
Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that expectations meet reality. And Ken, you know this better than anyone else. If you're investing money, at some point you're going to lose. It is inevitable. You're going to lose. And that is okay because there are great lessons that you can learn in losing money. And there are better investments that you'll make in the future because of it. But the expectation should be that you probably are at some point. And how do I look at each deal like this one's probably going to go wrong? So let me figure out why it's going to go right. So start from the premise of this isn't going to work and then try to justify backwards. Well, no, it's going to work because of all these different reasons. And so to me, I wanted to put out there like, hey, I don't have it all figured out. I figured some stuff out and I've been able to be successful in the things that I figured out. But it came with some scars, and just like anyone else investing, I'm, I could lose in some future investments. I think that my thesis and my criteria really protect me against losing money, but I'd be a fool to think I'm never going to lose money again. So I just want people to know, like, the goal is not to not lose money. I mean, if you could do that, awesome. I mean, you'll be the greatest investor in the world. The goal is to do better on what you have than what you've lost. Like so you can lose some battles, but how do you win the war? And as long as you're learning the lessons from these battles that didn't go well and these investments that didn't go well, but overall your portfolio, you win, that's really the goal.
Yeah. I remember one of the lessons with Danille was she was looking at this. She was trying to buy another investment, and there was these really bad pictures of this property on the listing service that I think we were using a realtor or somebody to
I think Zillow.
What was it?
Zillow.
Oh, it was Zillow. And she's like, oh, we're passing on. I'm like, no. That's the one we want to go see, right? And you know what I'm talking about, Justin, right?
Oh,
that
yeah.
is the one. And she's like, why would we ever go to that? And she had her arms folded the whole deal. What you tell that story?
I did. Yeah. I was looking at all the pristine pictures and wanted to buy something basically move in ready, because that's what I had done prior. And yeah, I'm like, he's like, there's no houses in your price point. And I said, just this one that has like 3 pictures from a camera phone, but not like a nice camera phone, like a camera phone from like the 2000s. And and he's like, we got to go see it. And I'm like, I don't really, but it ended up being a good find.
Well, we walked in, and I remember there was obviously, I think she was a pet sitter.
Yeah.
You could smell that. And she made it very clear that she did not clean the place up.
Well,
But
she was the tenant, so she didn't want it sold.
Yeah. And so I'm like, this is the one. We got to make an offer. Afterwards, and Danille's like, are you out of your mind? Like, do you see what we just saw? And I was like, this is it. Trust me. And she had to break through some mental barriers. You know, I love one of the pieces in your book is this dangers of emotional investing, right? This is it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Danille.
Well, what I was going to say is I've learned that from Ken, where, when I put an offer on the place initially, any place, I was like attached. Like I was like picking out the wall color I was going to, put in, and what the tenants were going to be like and all this stuff. And what I've learned from Ken is you literally have to be able to walk away. Like, it's so transactional until you literally close on it. Like you just can't get emotionally invested.
Totally. And it's so great when you can find deals. Like I talk about this in my book, my third commandment is invisible deals, the deals that don't exist, that you create out of thin air or are off market, or in this instance, it's such a bad looking, smelling, feeling deal that what happens is there's no competition. That's what you want. You want no competition. You want to come in with the only offer so that they have to go with you. And that's a beautiful thing. And I love that even with off market is you don't get bid up off market because there's no competition.
And by the way, I'm going to say this publicly. I think I'm going to go on a record here. I think that is the best deal you've done. Is that true?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
And I wasn't going to do it. But...
I know. And so, by the way, not all deals turn out that way. So I just want to say that you have to it has to work from a math standpoint. But in this particular case, it checked all the boxes: the price of the property, the expenses of the property, and the rent more than covered. And I don't know what kind of cash flow you have now monthly, but I know it's very, very healthy. So
yeah, definitely.
That's great. If you're going to be in love with any of the process and emotionally tied to anything, let it be the math, let it be the numbers.
Yes.
And not the aesthetics, right?
If you were going to sell any of your properties, what would be the very last one you would sell, Danille?
That one.
Yes, exactly. I just wanted you to say it.
I know.
So anyway, but you know what I'm talking about, Justin, because we do this with mobile home parks. We do this with apartment buildings. I just bought a building in Austin about 3 weeks ago. The owner had it for 17 years, and he probably ran it pretty well when he first bought it. But I can assure you the last 7 or 8 or 9 years, not so well. So it's the same. It's just bigger, right? It's just at some point the flame went out for him, and he just stopped putting money back into the property and had poor management and all those kinds of things. And what happens with poor management? You get less rent, you get higher turnover, you get higher operating costs, and higher vacancy and all those things. And if you can solve those issues, you can create massive amount of money for your investors and for yourself, right? And this model we've done with businesses, with mobile home parks, with self-storage, with single family, like Danille just talked about. It's limitless, right?
Yeah. And you also get a worse quality tenant. If that's the standard of the, property that you have, then you're going to attract a different type of person than if you're pouring money into it. And if there's, we talk about it being pride of ownership, that people should have a pride of ownership of their space. And one of the things I like about mobile home parks is that most of my tenants own their home, and there's this pride of ownership. It's different than someone that is renting it. But you want that there. You want them to want it and appreciate it. But I'll tell you what, some of the best deals I've ever found are the biggest eyesore. I mean, I just bought a park that is a true eyesore. It is just the ugliest looking thing you've ever seen, but it cash flows wonderfully. And I'm going to do some landscaping, put a nice white picket fence around it. I mean, there's just so much stuff we can do to spruce it up. So I look at it as opportunity.
Yeah, I know. I remember my partner Ross is so good at this too. And there was a 680 unit building in San Antonio that we still own today, by the way. And it was owned by the bank. So this was back, I guess, a little over 10 years ago. But I'll never forget, we walk in and it's 50% vacant. So you can imagine, buying something, when you say the number, it sounds like, okay, we got, 350 vacants, right? Like it's one thing to say we got a few vacants, but 350 vacants. So we ended up buying the property. It's a long story how we got it, but we ended up getting it. And then within the first 90 days, we had 100 more people move out. Because, of course, one of the things that a property like that has is a lot of people that probably shouldn't be in there. So all of a sudden, we're going the wrong way. But all of a sudden, it stopped. And then we started to improve it. And we started to fill it up. It's basically like a big lease up. But the bones were good. The location was good. And we've refinanced that 2 times so far, and we're going to continue to keep that thing and refinance it. In fact, we talked about it last week. We're gonna inject more capital into the property and really reposition it now again to even higher rents. And I think we just decided that last week. So we call it taking multiple bites of the apple. So when you buy something, guys, you can always sell it and take that cash. But then what you're walking away from is that passive income. And what you have to do is you, of course, have to pay probably commissions, and then you have to pay capital gains, and you have to pay depreciation recapture and all of those things. So if you're able to reposition it and keep it and just harvest it with cash out refi money, that tax-free, by the way, then you're going to be better off. It's a harder strategy. It's not necessarily a flip strategy. It's not a capital gain strategy. But the issue we all have, Justin, as you know, especially at the rate you're running at now, and Danille had this exact issue, is what do I do with all this cash, right? That's it. And that's actually the biggest problem people have. I know that it's hard for some people to wrap their head around, but think about that. That's a bigger issue than if it's invested. Because cash right now, guys, it's a liability. Debt is an asset. It's the opposite of what it used to be. Debt is an asset because of inflation. Cash is a liability at the moment. Now, that could change, but at the moment, those are the rules. You have anything to say about that, Justin?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You've got the cheapest money in human history, at least on record. So to own debt is the smartest thing you can do. It's so easy to make a return that's going to cover the interest payment on that debt. So it's just a no-brainer to have debt. And every day you're sitting in cash, your dollars are being devalued. More money's being printed, which is diluting the dollar amount on all of your money. So when you invest in an asset, your asset value is going to appreciate at the rate that the monetary supply is increasing. So those two are like that's your hedge against a devaluing dollar. If you sit in cash, your money's becoming worth less. If your hedge is to buy assets that are going to inflate at the same cadence as the monetary supply.
Right. I exactly. So before we wrap up, thank you, by the way. That's really, really good. I think that I do want to talk about the importance of community and health, to live the life that you want. Now, this is important, guys. We did a seminar once when we had a very, very well-known spa company come in and speak. And this is a spa company that franchised onto cruise ships and all around the country, and they were putting spas in hotels and all that stuff. And what the owner said, and it all started with one, right? But obviously the guy ran it very, very, very well. And he said what happens is everybody works their butts off, and they're very unhealthy, and they come to me when they're 50, 60 years old, and they have a bunch of money, and they come here for a week or two, and they're like, fix me, right? And he goes, it doesn't work. It has to be ingrained into your daily and annually and monthly lifestyle. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, without a doubt. And this is something I think really that's important for my wife and I, that we spend some time every year. We have a day, it's called our family planning day, marriage and family planning day. And we just plan everything out. We plan out what we want to do as a couple, how we can grow our relationship, what it looks like with our daughter, how we're going to strengthen that, who's the peer group that we're going to influence her being around. What are the things that we want to do, the experiences we want to have as a family? What are the habits that we want to instill? What are the habits we want to keep for ourselves? What are the habits that we want to drop? It's really just coming up with a plan, and we've got a lot of different categories. So it's wealth in general. So there's financial, there's emotional, spiritual, physical, material, and we just kind of dive into that. And so for us, that is such a therapeutic way to kind of go through and spend a day and carve out that time for just us. And then quarterly we meet and do our an overnight away, just the two of us, and reconnect and see where we're on track and where we're off track, and how I can help my wife. We come up with the dreams that we want to accomplish that year. And so there's so many different things that you could measure and track and whatever, but we just keep it pretty simple with those that I've mentioned, maybe a few other things, and that's it.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's funny, as a friend of mine said, he's like, Kenny, do you do business plans on properties you buy? I go, oh, of course, Charlie. He goes, what about businesses you bought? 100%. Yeah, we're putting a business plan on that. We're raising money. He's like, how about your marriage? How about your health? Right? It's interesting when you put it in that kind of perspective. As a man, and I'm just going to pick on men, for whatever reason, men are really kind of driven by those kinds of things, and they oftentimes they let the other pieces go, the relationships and the health piece, and I'm telling you, it will catch up, because Father Time has a way of doing that, right?
Oh, there's no doubt. And figuring out where your priorities are. Are you too lopsided where you care too much about how much money you make and what your net worth is, and all the stuff? Because I think that's an important component, but I don't think it's the most important component. But I think a lot of men live as that's the most important component. And I think that there's a danger in that.
Oh, I completely agree. So, Justin, what a great hour we had. How do people get a hold of you, and what's the best way to find out more?
Yeah, so for my book, The Lifestyle Investor, if you go to, so for your audience, what I'll do is I'll give them a copy for free. They just pay for the shipping. So you can do that at lifestyleinvestorbook.com. And really, one of the things I want to say, whether you buy it on Amazon or wherever you buy it, all the proceeds go to an organization called Love Justice International, and they stop human trafficking in I think now it's 24 countries around the world. They're just an incredible group, and I partnered with them early on. So I really want my book to be about teaching people financial freedom that are already kind of in a position to take advantage of it. But there are people that their basic human life freedoms are being violated, and I want this to stand for something more. So you can find that if you go to my website, justindonald.com. You can get, the book there. I've got a podcast, I've got a blog, I've got, an online course, a masterclass, a mastermind, the whole 9 yards. But there's tons of free tons of free content on there. I give away my 10 criteria, my actual 10 commandments for anyone that joins the email list. So I just love being able to share this message of buying your time back and buying freedom.
Yeah, well, I I knew you had all that, and that's why I wanted you on, because I think that what we're trying to do is educate and move the needle, right, for people.
Without a doubt. And it can be one person at a time, but I've just experienced this movement recently where this is just such a hot topic, and it's neat seeing it happen as like a chain reaction, and so is doing it, and then their friends and their family, and it's really just a cool experience to be part of. It's very humbling to see, just the reach that this financial freedom movement can have and does have.
Yeah, that is for sure. Well, I can't wait to have you on again. Thank you, Justin. This has always been great. Every time we get together and talk, it honestly, hours seem like minutes. So just like today. So thank you again, and enjoy your holidays. And tell your wife hello for me, and we'll chat with you soon.
Well, thanks, Ken. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the part of my journey that you were able to help shape and impact early on. So thank you. And what a pleasure to get a chance to connect again.
100%. Cheers.